quick video about the new Matrix film. Now, I was a massive, and still am, massive fan of the original Matrix trilogy. So while I was a little skeptical, I was hopeful about this new Matrix film. But boy, oh boy, were my hopes misplaced. Because this film right here is absolute garbage. The Matrix Resurrections is absolutely appalling. It is a terrible film. And that's not because I'm being too nostalgic about the old films and, you know, being too harsh on this one, judging it against those. Even as a standalone movie, The Matrix Resurrections, I think it's called, is absolute trash. Now, some sci-fi movies in recent years that I liked, when I say recent years, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, some of them would be the likes of Interstellar. In fact, Chris Nolan, I would say right now, is the best sci-fi and best director at the moment in terms of consistency. I would say it's Chris Nolan in Hollywood right now. I know Tenet had mixed reception. Some people like it. Other people say it's way too complicated and ridiculous. The first time I watched Tenet, yeah, I was disorientated like everybody else. But on second and third viewing, it made more sense and I liked it more. And at least, again, Chris Nolan is trying new things and pushing the envelope. And that's that's one of the reasons I like the sci-fi genre is because it can push the envelope more so than other genres, other than maybe fantasy. So Chris Nolan sci-fi films I like. Also, is it called Arrival or The Arrivals? Or I forget exactly the name of the movie, but it's a movie about some cephalopod aliens that come down to Earth to interact with mankind. It's quite well done. I don't want to say it's a classic or anything like that, but it's quite well done. You can watch that, I think, on Netflix or whatever. So that's a decent movie. And most recently, I watched Dune, the remake of the original Dune that came out in the early 80s. And by the way, the original Dune is, oh dear, oh dear. See, I grew up in the 1980s and I have a lot of, you know, nostalgic feelings towards movies that came out then. So the 80s being a very cheesy generation, I'm used to cheese and I like a certain amount of cheese, right? There's good cheese, but the original Dune is horrible. I'm not sure what's worse, the original Dune or this new Matrix film. You know, that's really a neck and neck race. The remake of Dune is actually pretty solid. Yeah, I saw that a couple weeks back. Solid film, the remake of Dune, solid. But this new Matrix film, I mean, where do I start? The trailer is better than the actual film. The opening 5, maybe 10 minutes of the film is slightly promising. That's the way I'd describe it, the new Matrix. Slightly promising, opening 5-10 minutes. But that promise very quickly gives way to not just disappointment, but actually sheer horror. Because they have really soiled the Matrix brand with this film. Absolutely terrible. And some people were concerned that it might be ultra woke and that might ruin it. It's actually not. Yeah, that if there's one positive thing I can say about this new Matrix film is that, you know, there are hints of wokery there, but it's nothing overt. It's not like a woke fest. Like, for example, some of the Star Wars movies lately have been. No, the new Matrix film is actually not like that. But that's about the only saving grace there is, because everything else about this movie is trash. The story is unbelievably basic and just awful. There's no mystery. There's no intrigue in this story beyond the first 15 minutes or 20 minutes of the film. So the story's garbage. The writing is horrible. The script is horrible. You've got Keanu Reeves and the woman who plays Trinity, right, from the original Matrix. And you've also got a couple others who make cameo appearances, like the guy who played the Frenchman. He makes a cameo appearance. There's a girl who was like the little Indian girl in the original Matrix films. I think she was in the second and third film, or just the third film. She's now a grown woman now. She's in it briefly. And you've got who else? Jada Pinkett, She's also in it. And I have to imagine that between Keanu Reeves, Jada Pinkett, and the director, they accounted for the majority of where the budget went. Because this film looks so cheap compared to the original films. You see, a lot of people didn't like the third Matrix film. They say it's rubbish, it's garbage, it's so disappointing. Well, it was definitely, from an exoteric perspective, purely entertainment, the third Matrix film was definitely the weakest of the trilogy. No doubt about it. But it still had a lot of very interesting esoteric symbolism in there, from Buddhism and Christianity, philosophy, Nietzsche and Jung, and all kind of stuff was explored in there. You know, if you have knowledge of these kind of things, you can watch even the third Matrix film, and it's quite interesting seeing all the stuff that they put in there that I've just described, all this esoteric symbolism. But on an exoteric level, I get why people didn't like the third Matrix film. But this new film doesn't even have that. It's garbage. It's not as good as the third Matrix film in any way. The special effects are far worse. And the original Matrix trilogy came out 20 years ago. 20 years ago. And obviously there's inflation, but the original Matrix trilogy were made for less than half the amount of money that this new movie was made for. So that's why I'm saying the majority of the budget, or a huge chunk of the budget, must have gone on marketing and paying the actors and the director, because it can't have been spent on the actual film. The special effects are poor compared to the original film, original trilogy. The fight scenes are rubbish. They don't have any of the spectacular stuff. They try and hint at it, or they try and, have certain elements of the fight scenes you would see in the original trilogy, but it's nowhere near on that level. The fight scenes are not as spectacular. The action sequences are nowhere near as spectacular. The cinematography isn't as good, not even close to being as good as it is in the original trilogy. It's just, and what symbolism there is there is so obvious, what allegory and metaphor there is there is just so obvious. It's not even it's enjoyable when a film is multi-layered. So you have to watch it several times and, try and decode, okay, this means this, and this is a metaphor for such and such in our society. And that was what the original Matrix films were like. They were extremely multi-layered, and every time you'd watch it, you'd notice something different, But with this new one, oh my gosh, it is so shallow. There's barely anything there. If you're somebody that's well-versed in these kind of things, like esoteric symbolism or whatever, I mean, it's slim pickings with this new film. Absolute garbage. On a exoteric level is garbage. It's just not entertaining. Just as a pure visual spectacle, not entertaining. Story-wise, not good. Characters wooden. The supporting cast here just screams budget. There's nobody in the supporting cast that's any good. The guy who they've got to play the new version of Morpheus, just generic. They found someone who looks vaguely similar to Lawrence Fishburne in the original films. And yeah, everybody, there's an English girl in the film with blue hair, and I guess she's okay. She's not awful, but the cast are just like, the supporting cast, they're just miscellaneous actors. There's nobody who jumps out at you at all, just miscellaneous, how could I describe them? Generic miscellaneous supporting cast. And the main cast, the main characters, Neo and Trinity, Keanu Reeves is okay. He had weak material to work with, and I guess he did his best. The actress who plays Trinity, she's okay. Neither one of them are terrible. Then you've got Jada Pinkett, who I thought was just... Again, I don't want to be too harsh on Jada Pinkett, because it was just the writing that was awful. I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, her character was just horrible. And obviously she played the same character that she played in the original trilogy, but she was much better in the original. The character was better then. This character is just like whatever. You don't even care. The writing is rubbish. The whole thing is just garbage. So, in summary, in conclusion, if you want to laugh, and I mean a laugh, if you want to watch something that's so bad that you end up just laughing at how bad it is, then go ahead and watch the new Matrix film. But if you're hoping for actually good sci-fi or a good movie in general, then don't bother, because you're not going to get that here. If you want a good sci-fi film, watch Dune, the remake of Dune. That's actually quite good. Dune as in Dune. Yeah, that's actually quite good. Or if you haven't seen Interstellar, Tenet, etc., go check those films out. Or even the other one, Arrival or The Arrivals, I forget how it's actually titled. I think it's Arrival. But go check those out if you're into the sci-fi genre. Other than that, avoid this film. The new Matrix is absolute garbage. Shockingly, but I was laughing out loud at several moments because not because there are any jokes. I mean, I guess there are some attempts at jokes in the film, but no, I was laughing at the moments where there's no jokes, because if you don't laugh, you got to cry, right? if you don't laugh, you'll cry. It was so bad. So bad. There was no mystery, no intrigue, just awfulness. As I say, when you get past the first 15 minutes, it's hard to judge exactly from memory how long this period of the film was, but I want to say first 15, 20 minutes of the film, there's a little bit of mystery in there, a little bit of intrigue, but beyond that, trust me, it descends into absolute garbage. And like, obviously the themes of red and blue are expressed in the original trilogy, right? This is where we get the term now, red pill. Yeah, people use this in popular culture now. Are you red pilled or blue pilled? Well, they make that whole red pill, blue pill thing so obvious in this new Matrix film. They make it so obvious. Like, somebody's wearing a blue hat, you know what they're about, right? They're basically servants of the system. But then someone's wearing something red, and then obviously they're against this. It's just like, make it so obvious. It's not fun when it's that obvious. To give you an example of some of the esoteric symbolism in the original Matrix films, even in the third film, the realms of mind, body, and spirit were represented by 3 colors in the third Matrix film, and in the first and second as well. But, you know, I'll explain what I mean in a sec. So the mind in the Matrix films is symbolized by or represented by the color green. So when you see scenes where they're actually inside the Matrix, the film has a green tint to it. Yeah, the famous green tint. But when they're in Zion, which is the real world, right, the physical world, the film has a blue tint. So green represents the mind, blue represents the body. Then in the third Matrix film, you've got this part of the film where Neo gets blinded by Agent Smith. And from there on out, Neo can still see, even though he's lost sight in his eyes. And he can see spiritually. He still has his spiritual eyes, even though his physical eyes are gone. And when he observes things with his spiritual eyes, everything is gold. So the machines emit like a golden light. Humans emit a golden light, because gold represents spirit in the original Matrix. Yeah, so everything has got like a golden tint in the third Matrix film when it's trying to represent spirit. Yeah, so those are the 3 realms: mind, body, spirit, represented by green, blue, and gold. It doesn't make it so obvious, like somebody's wearing a gold hat. You know what I mean? Or somebody's got a blue purse or something like that. There's a little bit of that in there, but it's much more subtle. It's much better executed than is the case with the new film, which is just so obvious. I mean, good grief. I wish I could go into a spoiler. I mean, I guess I can in a different video, but oh my gosh. You guys wouldn't even be mad at me if I started talking about spoilers, because you'd be able to figure all this out by yourselves in seconds. Honestly, one of the most sloppy sci-fi films I've seen in a long time. Absolute garbage. So if you want to laugh, go ahead and watch it. I'd advise you try watch it for free. I watched it for free. I didn't pay. I watched it for free online. So either get somebody to pay. If you're going to the cinema, don't pay for it yourself. If you can get free tickets or whatever, go do that. Because me personally, I would have been upset if I'd paid to watch this film. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next one.